Welcome to the finalToon tutorial first steps. In this tutorial we will talk about how to set up finalToon, how to assign different line styles to the objects, how to assign finalToon to an object, and what kind of line styles are available. Before we start, let's create some easy objects that allow us to discover the various line styles of finalToon. First, I'll create an easy box here. As this is a tutorial only, we don't care about dimensioning or whatever. Also, let's create a cylinder. And the interesting thing is that the cylinder should stick in the object. And let's just give it a little bit more height, and we'll move the cylinder right into the object. And let's choose a more interesting viewport here. And as you can see, we now have a really easy setup of our scene, and there's nothing really special about it. We have one cylinder and we have a box. Next step I would like to do is assign a standard material to the box and the same material to the cylinder. Let's just render the scene, and as you can see, it isn't really spectacular. It's just a box and a cylinder. The next thing I would like to do is just adjust the color, the background color. So I'll go to the environment and I'll adjust the background color here. In the background color, we will see that we want to have a white. A white color is in this case much better to detect the lines, the various lines we want to see here. Because initially the default setting for line styles is black, and black lines on a black background are not really good to see. I close the material editor. Throughout this tutorial we won't need the material editor. To add a finalToon rendering effect, we'll just go here and open up the Render Effects menu. In 3D Studio Max we have the Render Effects menu, and there we can just select the finalToon render effect. Let's bring the finalToon render effect into the list of render effects. Before we start assigning line styles, let's just look a little bit at the settings and what kind of rollouts we have here. The first rollout you might detect is the global settings rollout. Then we have an default edges rollout, file output, and canvas rollout. The interesting thing is the global settings. Those are parameters and settings that affect the whole scene. So you can't choose these effects per material or per object. This is not possible. It affects the whole scene. Another important feature you can access through the global settings is the About finalToon information window. Just press the button and this will bring up the About finalToon dialog. The About finalToon dialog gives you important information about your serial number, about the license type, and also what version number is used. The version number could be interesting when you want to do an update, or if there's an update available in the future, you want to be sure that you use the correct version. So this is what you can find in the global settings. The next or the most important rollout menu is the default edges. The default edges enable you to render lines on objects that do not have a finalToon material. This is controlled by the Enable Default Edges radio button. If this option is checked, default lines are rendered. What does it mean? It means that even a standard material will receive lines, outlines, hidden lines, or whatever line style you may choose. This is really great, especially if you have a scene with hundreds or thousands of materials. You don't need to set them up, you just assign the enable default edges. There are also the settings for the various line styles. Let's just start very easy. I'll enable only the first type of line style, the fold edges. The visible fold is a line style that is more like the outline of an object. We will see this in a second. Let's just render, and as you can see, we now can detect here some lines, here some lines, also here. So along the boundary of the object we see lines. Here we don't see any lines, and also here there's no line, and here. So the visible fold lines are the outside or the border of the object. Let's just adjust a little bit the thickness. Here I'll just choose 4 as the setting, and let's render again the scene to see how the lines look now. Now it's much more visible how the lines are created and look. So to get a more a clearer or better idea about the line styles, I'll open up the global settings again, and let's concentrate on this part of the menu. Shapes, color. Right now we can see the shading, the rendering of the 3D Studio Max material. So all the gray and the highlights and shading you can see here, this is from the Max material. We want to concentrate on the outlines or on the lines only, so I'll change this option to Max Background. So all my shapes, and this means in finalToon, all the meshes and objects will use as the fill color the Max Background color. Now I'll close the object again and render again, and as you can see, now we're able to see our lines without the shading of 3D Studio Max. And you might have noticed that I always press the render again button, and it takes time to render the scene and so on. finalToon is a render effect, and you might ask, why didn't this guy use the interactive? Doesn't it work with it? finalToon in fact works with interactive render effect mode, and I'll just switch this button on, and now I'll show you the real power of finalToon. Before I was always re-rendering the scene for each change I did. This is not necessary. Only in few situations you need to re-render the scene, and imagine how great this is. It's a big time saver. Imagine your scene takes an hour to render, and now you detect, I want a little bit a thicker line on this character, and then you have to wait 1 hour again just to see again that this change was not really clever or nice, and you have to render again, and so on. finalToon is so fast and optimized that you can have it in real time update your changes. So as I said, I activated the interactive mode, and we're now going to do some work on the line style. For this, I'll press the default 1 button here. That's connected to our line style visible folds. The visible fold, when I click here, brings up another line editor. This line style editor, allows you to give it a name. Let me just put this here so that you can see that we have a nice name here. So let's say thick line blue, and as you can see, it is updated here and also here on the button. It works similar to a material in 3D Studio Max, but here we just do not define a material, we define a line style. This line style should get a blue color, So I'll just go ahead and change the color to blue. And if you did look at this video really close, you have seen that right now the line has immediately updated. So whenever I change here something, I want you to look at this region first. This is the progress bar of the interactive mode, and then I would like to take a look here. So I'm now going to change this to 1 and press the enter button, and you have seen the updating runs through really fast, and you see the new line style very fast updated here. Okay, so let's just move this a little bit here, and let's adjust the thickness of the line style. And I just put it here to a thickness of 4. And let me close this again. As you can see, we now get the fold lines, the visible fold lines. A fold line is described in a more technical term or in a more technical way in the manual, in the printed manual. So if you want to find out how the renderer actually calculates what a visible fold is and what not, just read the manual, and there you get the detailed description how the fold lines are detected in an object. So we have the first line type here activated. Now let's go to the hidden folds, and I'll activate the hidden folds now, and you see the rendering, it was updated here, but here you can't see any update. There are several line styles that need a re-rendering of the scene because the information wasn't there in the first rendering. In our case, we wanted to see now the hidden lines. Hidden lines are based on geometry, so we need to find what is occluded, what lines or edges are occluded and what aren't. This needs a recalculation. We didn't do that in the first run, so the information isn't there. So what we need to do is just press the update scene button. This is just a re-render of the scene. And as you could see, we get the gray shading again, and then our render effect shows the lines. And as you can see now, we have the hidden folds visible here. So I'll do the same. I'll open up the line editor for the hidden fold lines, and we'll name it hidden line. And also we want to have a real blue color for the hidden lines. And as you can see, as I adjust the lines here, you can see they update in real time. So let's just choose a pattern, a line style pattern. Here, if you press the drop down menu, you will see that we can choose from various line styles. And again, watch here, it is updated in real time. So we have really updates in real time going on here. We can have dashed, dotted. Also we can have hidden line styles. But I wanted to see the dotted line style, and as you can see, we now have here nice dotted hidden line style. So right now we have two line styles here. We have the visible fold and the hidden line. The hidden line is a little bit thinner than the visible fold. This is usually like it is in technical illustration. So whenever you see a technical illustration, you have usually definitions by the thickness of a line. It tells the user what is in front, what is in back, what is hidden, and so on. So let's talk a little bit about the dotted line pattern. I would like to have the dotted line pattern a little bit more in detail. So I'm going to change now the viewport a little bit. I'm going to hide the back here completely. So I'll move the camera a little bit like this, and we'll update the scene. So now the cylinder is completely hidden here. And as you can see, there are very problematic areas. Let me just increase the thickness a little bit. That might be too extreme. 3. 3. That's a nice thickness here for the line. As you can see now, we have one big problem here. We wanted to simulate a hidden line pattern, and here the line pattern is out of sync. It doesn't look like it is a regular line pattern. Also here there's a strange effect, and here. finalToon is so advanced that it is able to handle this problem with line patterns. Usually illustration renderers have a big problem with this kind of effects, and you would get this result you see right now from other renderers. But in finalToon we have a special option, and this option is called Connect Lines, and it does what it says. It connects all lines, and the Connect Lines option allows now finalToon to really determine where to follow or keep on with the pattern. So now the pattern will be continuous. There was no change again because this is an option that needs a re-rendering. So I'll just press the update button, we get the rendering, and now you can see we have perfect, evenly distributed dotted line patterns here. So this is a completely different look from the image before, and this is also a really important and great feature of finalToon. Let me just turn back the thickness to 1 and keep on with the other line styles. Let's go to the crease edges lines. The crease edges are a really interesting line style, and we're now going to activate them. Again, you saw there was no change here, so we need also to re-render the scene, and you will see what lines are belonging to the visible creases. As you can see here, again we have our default line with black color. And if we would like to have the same line style, we would just drag and drop the line style definition from our visible fold, and we would use the instance option. So now we get the same thickness, the same color as our fold lines. And the great thing is that those two are now connected because there are instances. So whenever I change any of those settings, it will affect the other line styles also. So if I change here the thickness, it affects the thickness of the crease lines and the fold lines back here. And also if I change the color, it will affect the color of both line styles. And now let's do the same for the hidden creases. I'll activate them, and again, for the hidden lines, we have to get the information about the hidden lines. We didn't calculate the hidden creases before in the first run, so the information isn't there, it's missing, so we need to create the information. The great thing is, those are the hidden lines, hidden creases. The great thing is, once you have calculated the information, we can turn them on and off as we like, because the information is now stored and finalToon can access the information. So finalToon is very effective in rendering lines. Information that isn't needed isn't creating any calculation overhead. So now we also want the same line style like the hidden folds. We want the same line style for the hidden crease lines. And here we have the creases. As you can see, they have shared the same hidden line style now. We could have created a copy and then changed the color or whatever, but right now let's just go on exploring more and more line styles. The next line style I would like to explore is the intersection edges. Visible intersections are really interesting things. those line styles appear on the intersection area where objects intersect. So this would be this area here. So whenever objects stick into each other, we will see the intersection region. Again, we didn't get the update because we need to re-render this effect. The intersection wasn't calculated in the first run, so we need to re-render the intersection. And also again, for the visible intersection, we would like the thick line blue line style. Also, we use an instance, and as you can see, in real time it is updated. The next thing goes for the hidden intersection. And again, before we re-render, I'll just assign the hidden line style to the hidden intersections, and now we just update the scene and we get all kinds of line styles. As you can see here, this line is our intersection edge, and this is the intersection hidden edge here. So we get all kinds of intersections visible. Also here we can detect where the cylinder exits the box. There are more options here in the intersection edges. We have the option self-intersections. The self-intersection is important when you have only one mesh and you still want to see the intersection lines. This is only possible when the object is one mesh, when you turn on the self-intersections. There are some more line styles. One line style we will cover in the manual, for example, or in a later tutorial. It's the line style material ID edges, and also the line style user-defined visible edges. Those two line styles we will discuss later. Right now, the next line style I would like to show is the angle edges. The angle line style or the angle edges are really great to show how an object is built. It's like an isoline on a NURBS modeler or isolines on a technical modeling. So we also can turn on these kind of line styles. To do this, I'll just enable the visible angle lines, and I don't want to use the same line style because it would look a little bit strange. So I'll just copy the line style to get the base of the parameters. So I'll use a copy and not a reference. So this is now independent. And also we need to make sure that we adjust the angle. So I'll adjust it to 15 degrees. And we'll just say, okay, up to 60 degrees. We want to see the lines. And again, you didn't see an update here, so it will affect this object here. So we need to update the scene, render again, to get the line style, the angle line style. As you can see, as we start to change or add the lines, I would suggest to use thinner lines for this line style, or let's just say 2 as a thickness, so we can see this is really nice. And as you can see, as soon as we have calculated the lines, we're able to change and update them in real time again. Also, I would perhaps like to reduce the opacity to, let's say, 50, so that we can look through a little bit more. So as you can see now, it's a really faint blue, so the opacity is really not so big. And let's go to the hidden angle lines, and I'll just copy also the hidden line style from our different lines from above. And because it's a copy, we're able to change the settings as we like. And again, we didn't calculate the hidden angle lines, so we need to update the scene again. And now we get a really big, messy something here, so we can see the lines on the back. And also here, to reduce the chaos a little bit, I would suggest to perhaps even change the color or even reduce the opacity to something like 20–30%. Now it starts appearing, and perhaps we don't use the dotted, we use the dashed or straight line. Yeah, so I think that looks pretty nice. So now you can see all line styles here in this rendering, and the important thing is finalToon is able to create the hidden lines, and this is only possible with a real line renderer. So if you would have a cartoon renderer or cartoon program that only uses shading based lines, you can't get the hidden line information. This is not possible. You need a real hidden line removal and a hidden line renderer for this kind of lines. So finalToon is very powerful. You have learned in this tutorial that by using the interactive mode, you can see in real time the updates of the line styles. So we really recommend, if you are in the setup phase of your scene and you want to define the style, that you just go ahead and use the interactive mode and turn the interactive button on and adjust your lines as long as you want until you get the look you're after. In the next tutorial, we will discuss a little bit more about some other ways how you can assign the line styles to different objects or different line styles to different objects. Right now we have used the default edges. So the default edges are assigned to all objects. As you have seen, we can't differentiate between the box and the cylinder. All objects get the same line style. This is because Enable Default Edges is turned on and we didn't use a finalToon material. In the next tutorial, you will learn how to use the finalToon material to assign different line styles to different objects. So check out the next tutorial.